Good evening and welcome to another edition of Special Assignment. I'm Ashraf Garda. Tonight we look at the tragic story of a Durban Metro cop, Constable Cherise Cox, who was shot and left permanently disabled during an armed hijacking in 2003. In an ironic twist of fate, it turns out she was shot by a gun that once belonged to a fellow Metro cop. And despite her ongoing fight for survival, Cherise is still waiting for her disability payouts more than 8 years after being shot. Adele van Niekerk has the story.
Our police officers stare death in the face daily in the fight against violent criminals.
One of your conditions becoming a police person is you might get shot.
But nothing could have prepared her for the bloody carnage during a shootout with armed robbers 8 years ago.
I went cold. And I thought, from the movies, this is it. I'm dead.
Then this shocking discovery. She was shot by a firearm that once belonged to a fellow Metro cop.
He confirmed that the gun he used was purchased from a Metro policeman in Nambilo for 450 rand.
Cherise is now facing her ultimate battle, surviving with severe injuries and fighting the state for her medical pension.
One bullet's changed my life completely.
Like battle scars from a war against criminals, Cherise is left with these disfigurements after 24 major operations. With most of her bowel removed, she now has to wear this colostomy bag.
These are laser treatment. Did it with a laser.
But this was not always the case. Cherise and her police partner, Sean Murray, made a formidable team as part of the Durban Metro Police's dog unit, until one day 8 years ago when they stumbled upon a hijacking.
Yeah, then it's the first time Sean was able to go for assistance and officer down.
Cherise takes us to the site of the shooting. She's only been back once before.
And he swore at her.
She was about to come across this man while he was being hijacked.
Got back to the office, parked my vehicle to a parking area, got off the vehicle, and next thing we found two gentlemen. One next to me, one at my colleague. One had a gun stuck to my side, and the other gun stuck to my colleague's head.
We were stopped by the car, so we turned around. And as we entered here, that's where they came out shooting. Sean stopped the car around about here.
So I managed to come out, peep out, and then I see the shootout with two police officers and these two guys that held us.
Under siege from the armed hijackers, the two police officers realized they were in serious trouble.
I turned to the back of my car and I lifted my arm up to shoot the suspect over the boot. But all of a sudden I was down. I thought I was shot in the leg because my leg just folded in half and I couldn't get up. So I knew I'd been shot.
And I saw that the guy that held me up, he was on the floor, his gun was close to him, and one police officer was handcuffing him.
As I was lying there, he threw the suspect right next to me. I almost shot him in the head. But he was handcuffed. Sean shouted, don't.
As things quieted down, with one suspect restrained, the team realized Cherise had shot and killed the second suspect.
That incident will remain with me till I die. It's there. My memory is very bad, but that memory will not go away.
But time was running out for Cherise, who was fast losing blood from the gun wound to her stomach.
Sean came over to me. He said, "Were you shot in the stomach?" And I said, "No, my leg." And he said, "No, you're in the stomach."
In that moment, paramedics at the scene thought Cherise would bleed to death.
At the scene, I still remember there was a lot of people there, a hell of a lot of people. And then all of a sudden, there wasn't a hell of a lot of people. It was just Sean I could see. And you know, they say everything fades out. That's what happened. My whole surroundings just phased out. All I could see was Sean in front of my face. And I went cold. And I thought, you know, from the movies, you know, this is it. I'm dead.
South Africa's violent crime levels is a very real reality for our men and women in uniform. Between 2007 and 2009, almost 27,000 police officers were injured on duty. More than 1,000 were left permanently disabled. That excludes the figure for Metro Police, who captured their statistics under each province. Since 2002, in the Durban Metro alone, about 1,500 Metro cops were injured. More than 500 were left permanently disabled. Our high levels of violent crime turn any law enforcement badge into a deadly target.
It's very difficult for us to compare the South African Police Service with others that are facing similar crime problems, similar kinds of environments. When we compare them to the developed countries, some of the Western countries, America, UK, then obviously we do see a much higher rate of injury, much higher rate of death. And that is because of our high crime situation in South Africa, and particularly violent crime.
Cherise Cox narrowly escaped becoming part of the death statistics, but what followed was months and years of intense recovery.
We heard was that a police officer is shot. And yeah.
You later on visited her in hospital?
Yeah, a few days after that, we went to see her in hospital.
Why did you decide to do that?
I don't know, it's somebody who tried to save our lives, I think. You know, went to say thank you.
And then the shocking discovery that the single bullet that hit her was fired from a fellow Metro cop's gun, and the disturbing allegations that a crooked cop might have sold it to a gang of robbers.
In my heart and my gut feeling tells me that they were sold.
So how did a Metro cop's gun land up in the hands of a notorious armed robber? We're trying to find the answers after this.
Around the same time that Cherise Cox was shot with the Metro Police firearm, the Metro Police in Durban was at the centre of controversy over the amounts of firearms that went missing. Officials had to concede that there was a huge problem. The Metro guns that were used in the shootout with Cherise Cox were in the hands of this man, Simpiwe Shezi, and his notorious gang. He confessed to police that they had bought them from Metro police officers.
He confirmed the date and time and place where he purchased this firearm that was recovered on the same scene, and we established that a Metro policeman had allegedly been robbed of the same firearm in Ambila on that date, time and place.
The case was handed over to the police's Serious and Violent Crime Unit. Special assignment is in the possession of a statement later made by one of the unit's investigators. He too was told by the suspect that they had bought the weapons from Metro policemen.
That's caused many, many sleepless nights for me. Is knowing what the suspect had said and analysing the case as such. The allegations could very much be true, because to know someone's nickname where it's not on your uniform or anything like that cannot to me be hearsay as such.
The Metro Police launched its own internal investigation into the matter. A report was later released stating that the allegations were checked but found not to be substantiated. The Metro management was convinced that the two Metro cops had indeed been robbed of their firearms. And it tainted statements by police with racial undertones.
It also became very racialized initially, the argument that these were black policemen who sold their guns that ended up shooting a white officer, etc. So unfortunately, in a lot of those issues, one had to separate out the various strands, as it were. And the first issue was to establish, was there any truth to the claim that, in fact, these guns could have been sold?
The National Investigation Team was not contacted by the Metro Investigation Team. They were contacted by a senior official from Metro Council.
And what did he say to you?
Well, he basically said that the information that was relayed to the Metro investigation was unsubstantiated.
Not only did I look at the internal investigation of the matter, I also hired a very well-known external investigator who then undertook a report. He interviewed everyone, he rechecked all of the affidavits, etc., and he concluded that, in fact, there was no evidence to the contrary, that it appeared as though these policemen, in fact, had been held up on the freeway, their guns stolen.
The docket in this case has since disappeared from the police's archives. A cocktail of pills to keep Cherise going. With almost no bowel left, Cherise is waging a daily fight against renal failure and a constant war against pain.
I've had so many operations and been in ICU and stays in hospital and things and that. Been very difficult. Very, very difficult. And the hardest part is to get the strength to pick yourself up every day, because it's not the way your life was, it'll never be the same again, never.
The tragedy in this case is you had a person at the prime of her working life, unbelievably enthusiastic and doing excellent work as a policewoman, gets hit like this, and then suddenly she's got to deal with the pain of the suffering, the fact she's gone from being a fit person to being disabled, and then the worst thing is to deal with the mental pain.
Good to see you again.
Cherise depends heavily on her brother Shane, an ex-policeman, for support.
How are you feeling?
I'm not too good today, like every other day.
How's your pain?
A bit bad.
You still take your medication?
Yeah.
She was a dedicated person and she worked so hard at her job, and the way she's been treated the last 8 years is really shocking. It upsets me, it makes me angry, and I don't think it's right. I think it's fair.
The Human Rights Commission says those law enforcers who put their lives in danger in the line of duty deserves better treatment.
It's an issue of management. It's an issue of laxness of applying internal police procedure, because they are entitled to that. And there shouldn't be an issue that internally their management is hesitant to support them.
Meanwhile, medical bills keep stacking up. 8 years after being shot, Cherise still waits for a second medical pension from the Metro Council and a payout from the compensation fund under the Labour Department. In this letter dated December 2010, Sharice's medical specialist requests a final medical report from the compensation fund declaring Sharice permanently disabled. The City Council says it cannot activate her second medical pension before receiving this report from the fund.
We're talking about years after a matter like this has happened, and for me, I don't know what the rules are in terms of defining a disabled person, but I think, as far as I'm concerned, Sharice has been disabled.
I've used up all my pension payouts in the last 3 years, and I expect to be paid out. And no one can give me any answers or direction how I can speed up the process or tell me how the process goes even.
Why the long wait for disability payouts? Is it just bureaucratic red tape or state bungling? More on that coming up.
Sharice meets up with Adet Geldenays from an organization called probono.org. They assist those who can't afford legal fees and source lawyers willing to take these cases on for free.
My condition is lifelong. This is what it's going to be like till I die. And it's just very frustrating because it's due to me. And every time I phone, it's 2 more weeks, 6 more weeks, 3 months, 6 months.
It seems to me that where you are right now is that there's been a lot of bad bureaucracy, to put it mildly, and that one would need some kind of legal intervention to push forward and speed up that bureaucracy.
But Adet feels the Metro Council might also have a case to answer to around the Metro gun with which Sharice was shot.
Possibly you wouldn't have been injured at all if that gun hadn't been out on the street.
Yes.
And so one has to then say, was there negligence involved by the part of the Metro Police for not looking after their guns? Or was there some other even stronger issue such as that one can say they would have known by selling their guns that somebody was going to be hurt by that gun.
During the meeting, Sharice gets an unexpected call from the compensation fund.
Okay, thank you, Tokozani. Thank you, bye. I just received an email from Workmen's Compensation, Department of Labour, and they have said they cover me 100%. But this is an email, it's not the finalised letter as such. So it still hasn't been finalised.
But 3 weeks later, no progress on a case. We decide to put some questions to the fund about Sharice's near-decade-long battle for her payouts.
We can't finalize a claim unless we have a final medical report, X-ray reports, and operational reports, which indicate exactly the impairment of functions. But what we would get from the treating doctors would be progress medical reports.
I would prefer a simpler system that's easy to address, that gives you answers, that has timeframes by which they must make a decision.
Whereas we are being requested, and we want to embrace the fact that they are our police. We want their own leaders and their own managers and their own superiors to accept the same thing.
Don't shake it. No, don't come to me and shake.
Due to the ongoing delays in her disability payouts, Sharice now stands to lose her house and her dogs. Her bank has given her a grace period until February to catch up with late payments.
I bought this house 6 months before I got shot. And I mean, I've worked hard for this home and to get the home to what I want it to be. And if I lose my home, then I'm losing everything.
I think it's sad. I mean, she was doing her duty. This was part of her duty, saving people's lives, and well, I think, in all fairness, they should have been paid, or she should have been paid. She was injured. She could have lost her life.
The biggest problem, firstly, is that we are still centralized in Pretoria. We don't see our patients. Our patients are seen by doctors who have to provide reports to us. And then we have to interpret these reports and pay or assess permanent disablement according to the reports. You know, our IT systems are outdated, but as an intervention, the fund has developed a new IT system which will be an automated system.
I don't want to accuse them and say that their systems are problematic. There might be valid reasons for this process taking this length of time. But whatever it is, it's not a humane way of dealing with individuals.
While Cherise still reminisces about her heyday as a Metro cop, she realizes time is running out for her on so many levels.
I miss my work. I miss having a purpose, you know. I mean, since small, I always wanted to be a policewoman. I got there, I trained hard, and I mean, and myself, I miss me. I was a different person before this altogether.
It hurts me. It actually rips you apart.
Well, without any answers from the doctors, I see a very bleak future. I don't think I'll live to a ripe old age. I think it's something I have to accept.
Well, I'd like to get your views on the matter. Should cops who risk their lives be better covered with danger pay? And what solution is there to the slow disability payouts in the case of severe injuries? You can send your comments on Twitter, Facebook or email, and you have a chance to call in on this matter on my radio show. That's on SAFM Radio on Friday at 2 p.m. Well, you also have the opportunity to get another viewing of this show and previous ones on the SABC News website. That's sabc.co.za/news. Join us again next week when we point out the issues that matter.